Hi everyone, welcome to the Product Marketing Festival. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the sessions that we have lined up for you today. With expert presentations, specialist talks and deep dive panel sessions on the agenda, suffice to say, you're in for a treat. Just before we jump in, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who's played a part in making this event possible. Our sponsors, partners, speakers, presenters, and of course you, the product marketing community. You can engage with all our speakers and their sessions today by posting your questions in the comments section of the broadcast, or you can reach out to them in our Slack community. Remember, you can catch up with all this week's content on demand, plus a whole host of other amazing benefits by becoming a PMA member. And whilst you're at it, why not check out Product Marketing Core, our industry-renowned certification. But for now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next session.
Hello, my name is Jeff Hanrahan, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to present at the Product Marketing Festival. Today, I'm going to share some tools that I use to connect go-to-market strategy to execution and ensure organizational alignment. So a brief introduction to my current role. I'm presently working as a Senior Director of Product Marketing at RealPage, where I help bring to market technology solutions for real estate owners and managers. We recently launched our Peak Performance Technology Stack, which covers everything from core property management to setting up smart buildings with technology that'll take residents all the way from the sidewalk to the sofa. However, long before I worked at RealPage, or even in product marketing, I started my career as an engineer at IBM, working in their semiconductor manufacturing division. And what I find interesting about the manufacturing engineering role is that his or her mission is to maximize the profitability of the factory. And the primary way that he or she does this is by eliminating waste. Waste being any action or step in a process that does not add value to the customer. Now, here are the 8 forms of waste from lean manufacturing process. Looking at them, they don't seem very relevant to product marketing, and you might be wondering what I'm talking about here, but bear with me, because when I apply my manufacturing engineering lens to look at the role of product marketing and the process of product marketing, I see there's a lot of waste. I mean, just look at the bottom right waste form of skills. How much time do we spend just explaining the product marketing role and how we can contribute to the organization? Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, but which of these really resonates with you? For me personally, I see overprocessing as a form of waste that I often fall into. So just a few weeks ago, our VP of sales asked me to help put together a sales proposal. And so I got all excited to build out this fancy color glossy Word document with photos and icons and stylized text, when all she really wanted was help wordsmithing an email. So that's a good example of delivering a much higher quality than was required or even needed, and wasting a lot of effort. But there's certainly many others in here that we all, I believe, fall victim to from time and again. So in the next 20 minutes, I'd like to share how you can use 3 methods that I learned as a manufacturing engineer to minimize these wastes and increase your efficiency by connecting go-to-market strategy to execution and ensuring organizational alignment. So in method 1, I'll demonstrate how to use an X matrix to connect strategy to execution. In method 2, I'll show how to use a bowling chart as the framework for monthly reviews to track results and prioritize future efforts. And in method 3, I'll explain how to use structured problem solving to find the root cause of missed targets and get them back on track. And finally, at the end, I'll share the key to success that I've learned from using these methods across different companies and different organizations. Now, before we jump in, a few comments. One, these methods are not prescriptive, so please adapt them as appropriate for your situation. I did not invent these methods. I adapted them myself from lean manufacturing, which itself is heavily influenced by the Toyota production system, which came out of Deming's process for manufacturing. Number two, these are the best methods that I know of. I'm always looking for a better process, so if you have one, please let me know. I'd love to chat. So let's jump into number one, the X matrix. So the X matrix, also called the Hoshin-Conry method, is a lean management planning method that connects strategy to actions. The product, when it's filled out, is a set of well-defined goals with clear owners and targets that can be checked monthly using the bowling chart that we'll talk about in the next section. Now, I know it can be overwhelming. I love a good spreadsheet, maybe more than anyone, and even my head hurt the first time I looked at it. So let's walk through each section to see how to use it, and then we'll cover an example showing it all filled out at the end. So the first step is to start at the bottom with your 3 to 5 year breakthrough objectives. And these are really what your organization needs to or wants to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years to meet your strategic goals. They should be measurable stretch goals, just a high-ranking few, 3 to 5 max. And they should include the voice of all our stakeholders. And they require a multifunctional commitment. So not just product marketing or even just product, it should be everyone functionally. Then we move to step number 2, your annual objectives. And this is how far you want to progress towards your 3 to 5 year breakthrough objectives in this calendar year. So you could target maybe 50%, 30% of where you want to be in 3 to 5 years. These should, again, be stretch goals. They should be SMART goals, and they require multifunctional commitment. So these objectives should be shared or at least aligned with your functional peers in sales, product, and marketing. Step 3 is how. So how are you going to achieve those annual objectives? What are the key drivers? These, again, should be easy to communicate, just limit to a high-ranking few, and they may or may not require a multifunctional commitment. So for myself and my team, we put our go-to-markets in here that we're responsible for developing and executing on. Those are our priorities for the year, and they will all contribute to our annual objectives. Step 4 is how much. This is where the targets to improve are defined, whether it's OKRs or KPIs. They should be very specific targets that are measurable with dates. And they should link back to the annual objectives. So they should show how the improvement priorities at the top will have an impact on the annual objectives. And for each improvement priority, there should be a leading indicator and a lagging indicator. So 2 for each ones. Step 5 is who. Who's responsible? Who owns the plan? Multiple resources can work or own the plan, but only one person is the primary responsibility, and they are responsible for the plan. And then step 6 is the fun part, connect the dots. And this is where the beauty, in my opinion, of the X matrix comes together. So by connecting the dots at the intersections, that physically links your strategy to your 3 to 5 year strategy, to your annual objectives, to your improvement priorities, to your targets to improve, and who owns them. Now let's jump in and look at an example. Here's a generic example that I put together for a product marketing team. And so we can walk through it in the same order from bottom to the right clockwise. So let's look at the 3 to 5 year breakthrough objectives. Let's say in 3 to 5 years, we want to be the category leader as recognized by Gartner's Magic Quadrant. We want to grow revenue at 15% compound annual growth rate and grow EBITDA at twice that rate at 30%. So how much of that are we going to achieve this year? What are our annual objectives? And honestly, these ones aren't that good. These ones are not measurable. They're not timely, not true SMART goals, but for a generic example, they fit the bill. So we want to do customer satisfaction, maybe measured by NPS score. We want to keep our financial commitments in terms of revenue and profit. We want to deliver innovation. We want to improve efficiency, maybe in terms of gross margin. So for product marketing, what are the top level improvement priorities that will contribute towards these objectives? And here I put in 5 go-to-markets that were going to be our priorities, our team's priorities for the year. Product A, B, C, D, and E. And then on the right are the targets to improve. Now these are really hard to read because you have to tilt your head to the side, and then we'll deal with that when we get to the bowler. The bowler makes that a lot more easy to read and monitor. But what's to notice here is that for each go-to-market, there are 2 targets to improve, 1 leading indicator and 1 lagging indicator. And then finally, we'll look at the team. So we have 4 people on our team, Jen, Bill, and Lindsay, and then myself as the manager. So Jen, you can easily see, owns go-to-markets for product A and B. Bill owns go-to-markets for product C and D, and Lindsay owns the go-to-market launch for product E. And then I'm ultimately accountable as the manager, so I'm the secondary resource for all of those. So how does this help show how strategy connects to action? Well, let's look at the example of being the category leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. So if we look at the bottom, how does that connect to our annual objectives? Well, in order to do that, we need to maintain customer satisfaction. We need to keep our financial commitments in terms of sales, and we need to deliver innovation. And those match up pretty well with Gartner's quadrant, where they're looking at the vision and ability to execute. So how is product marketing going to contribute to those objectives? Well, we're going to execute on our go-to-market for product A, B, C, and D. And E will contribute towards delivering innovation. That's the only one that's on our innovation, so that's very important to deliver on. And then what are the actions? How are we going to measure ourselves in terms of targets to improve? Well, let's just look at product A's go-to-market. We're going to implement 30 clients per quarter, and maybe this is a transactional product, so we're going to measure the number of transactions being processed on the platform as well. That would be our leading indicator, would be implementations, and our lagging indicator would be transactions. So this is a really nice way to look holistically and connect your strategy to your actions. Developing an X matrix is an iterative process that includes working with stakeholders to set those objectives and priorities. So for product marketers who may have an ambiguous role, it's a great way to get clarity and ensure organizational alignment. If you ask yourself, I know I'm so busy, but am I being productive? This is a great way to ensure that you're being productive, because you know that your actions are being linked back to the annual objectives and the 3 to 5 year breakthrough goals. So in the next section, we'll take a closer look at these targets to improve and how to monitor and measure them. So we talked about the X matrix. Now let's jump into the bowling chart. A bowling chart is a simple visual way to monitor your OKRs, KPIs, or other objectives, and lets you compare your actual metrics to your targets and goals. It's quickly reviewed on a monthly basis, maybe in a half-hour meeting with stakeholders, to ensure that priorities haven't changed, quickly see where there are problems, and work with the team to address them if it's decided to take that course of action. So how do you use it? Well, If you've already completed your X matrix, it's really easy because it all just feeds right into the bowler. So simply transpose the improvement priorities, targets to improve, and owners into their relatively associated columns in the bowling chart. Then add your planned targets or planned values for each month or quarter or period that you desire. And then as you measure them throughout the course of the year, record your actual values. If the actual value meets or exceeds the target, then mark it as green. And if it falls short, mark it as red. It's that simple. Let's take a look at an example. So here's an example that's based upon the X matrix example shown earlier. We have our 5 go-to-markets in the first column. Our owners, Jen, Bill, and Lindsay, that are responsible, have primary responsibility for these go-to-markets. And it's their responsibility to define the improvement targets, record the plan, and record the actuals throughout the course of the year. So I like to look at it month by month and by quarter, because sometimes you have a bad month, but that doesn't make the quarter. And oftentimes there's variability month to month in the quarter that isn't captured in the plan, such as sales closing in the last month of the quarter, but the plan is equal across every month in the year. So I find this tool helpful in 3 ways. Number 1, when we review with the stakeholders monthly, I always ask, are these still the priorities that we should be working on? Almost always the answer is yes, but it's good to check in because things change. Maybe product A is no longer the top priority. Maybe we have a new product that we've decided to launch in response to a competitor, and we need to add that one to the list. So it's a good checkpoint to ask that question. Number 2, you can quickly see where there are some problems by the rows that are marked in red. So it's really visual, and it jumps out that product A and product B are not meeting the plan, and we'll need to take some intervention here to get it back on track. And number 3, you can see where there might be some imbalance in the team. For example, Jen owns both the go-to-markets that have problems right now, whereas Lindsay owns only one go-to-market, and that's more of a long-term effort where she's planning and preparing for a launch in Q3. So maybe it might be a stretch for Jen to tackle both of these problems at once. So in this example, as a manager, maybe Lindsay can help out with Jen on one of those go-to-markets and understand what the problem is. And that leads into our next section, structured problem solving. So how do we find the root cause of these missed targets in the bowler and get them back on track? So there are a lot of structured problem solving methods, all with clever acronyms. Here's a selection. We're not going to go through these in detail. And often it's not necessary to be this rigorous. If you're trying to solve the problem of a failed rocket launch, you're going to need to use one of these processes and really work the problem with a big team. But if you're trying to solve the problem of a lagging product adoption, just keep it simple and be nimble about it. But do use some structure to organize the effort and record it to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So let's look at a quick example. Here's our familiar bowler chart, and let's look at product A. So product A, we are missing the target every month for implementations, and we've missed the target on transactions for 3 of the past 4 months and for Q1. So number 1, let's define the problem. So product A implemented 25 clients versus a target of 40 by the end of April. So what I like to do an is and an is not analysis. So what is this problem? This problem is clients implemented. It is on product A. What is it not? It's not transactions per client, because if you look at the data, we actually are almost achieving 90% of our transactions goal in Q1, whereas we barely exceeded half of our implementations goal in Q1. So in terms of clients actually using this product and processing transactions, we're doing better than expected. So it's looks like it's pretty purely on the implementation goal. And this is where it's helpful to have a leading indicator and a lagging indicator. Ideally, they would be very closely correlated. Here, they are definitely related, but we can see that transactions is outperforming our expectations and implementations is, at least on a per client basis, and implementations is lagging our expectations. And maybe under is not, it is not other products. So perhaps product C is very closely related to product A. Maybe customers always buy them together, but we're only seeing the problem on product A. So that's good information to know. Next step is to understand the root cause. And so this is a very abbreviated fishbone diagram that I like to use, where you just keep asking why and listing out the possible reasons why. So on the left-hand side, start there. What's the problem? Product A, implementations. Why might implementations be lagging? It could be marketing, it could be sales, it could be implementations. Let's say we checked our marketing funnel. We're outperforming on terms of leads. Sales is killing it on bookings. So it's pretty clearly that the root cause resides in implementations. So why would implementations be low? Maybe we don't have the staffing to onboard new clients. Maybe the process takes longer than we thought. Maybe the clients are not prepared and don't want to onboard right away. So once and you can continue through that, but once you've determined where the root cause most likely lies, come up with an action plan. So a simple table like this is really quick to put together, but can be very effective. So the actions are listed on the left, and then I like to prioritize them using an impact and effort rubric. So anything that's potentially high impact and low effort, do right away. Anything that's low impact and low effort, try to do if you can. So for example, training might only take an hour, might not have much of a difference, but let's just do it. And then anything that's high impact and high effort, like developing an onboarding wizard or potentially hiring new staff in this environment, may need to put that on the roadmap. And anything that's low impact and high effort, like creating a whole new product that is self-implementing, that you can put below the cut line unless conditions change. But in this way, you've got an action plan that you're pretty certain is going to address the root cause, and then you can just start working the plan and keep tracking the boulder and see if the metric turns from green to red over the coming months. So we've talked about the 3 tools that I've used to gain efficiency in product marketing: the X matrix, the bowling chart, and structured problem solving. Now, let me share with you the key to success. It's all about balance. So I've worked in some organizations where it felt like more resources were dedicated to planning and controls than to shipping product. And I really like this quote from James Clear from his 321 Thursday newsletter a few weeks ago. And if you don't subscribe, I highly recommend subscribing to it. But it says, planning and preparation are useful until they become a form of procrastination. Is this task enhancing my actions or substituting for them? And that's a great litmus test for any of these processes and tools. But on the other hand, some of you may be saying, we don't need all these processes and tools for planning. We're agile. And I love agile, but agile recognizes balance as well. So even if you look at the Agile Manifesto, it says they value individuals and interactions more than processes and tools. They value responding to change more than following a plan, but they recognize that there's value to all of those items, and it's about finding balance. So to be successful in using these tools in your organization, you need to find the right balance for your team, for your organization, for your products, and for your market, because everything is going to be very different from situation to situation. So that covers what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you and for listening to my talk. Please reach out if you have any questions or comments. As mentioned in the introduction, these are the best methods that I know of, but I'm always looking for a better process. So if you have one, please reach out. I'd love to chat. My email is hanraje@gmail.com, and that can be found on LinkedIn at Jeffrey Hanrahan. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the festival.